Welcome to another edition of SVSU Red Alert, your weekly update on Saginaw Valley State University athletics. I'm your host, J.J. Boehm. The SVSU football team registered an impressive performance in a win over Ashland before a national television audience. We'll review that one with SVSU head coach Jim Collins, and we'll get an update on women's volleyball with head coach Will Stanton. That's all ahead on this edition of SVSU Red Alert. The SVSU football team welcomed a national television crew from the CBS Sports Network and put on a very impressive performance as they knocked off Ashland by a final of 27-6. I'm joined by SVSU head coach Jim Collins. And Coach, I think this is one of those that you have to be pleased about on a number of levels.
Exactly, JJ. I think the big thing was the victory, obviously, but the way it happened, we dominated the turnover category. I thought we were physical. We made the plays we had to make, and it was, to be under the spotlight like we were and come away with a win like that was big.
And really, we talk about the national television exposure, but it was a big day as well because you had Todd Harriman's come back for the dedication ceremony for the Harriman's family weight room. Nearly your entire team was present for that as well, so there was a lot going on before the game ever even kicked off.
Exactly, and that, we really had a big buildup because we met in the morning and then had the Harriman's thing in the afternoon, and the Harriman's thing really was a motivator for our team, no doubt about it. Todd's inspiring. The things he talked about were important, and for our guys to respond the way they did in front of him, I thought was impressive.
And really a game as well that, the weather conditions got about as good as they could compared to what they had been, the previous day when you were out practicing and everything else. And you could tell that the guys really came out fired up, ready to play.
Well, we had talked about that. Coming off of the trip from Indy, I thought we really showed a lot of poise in terms of the way we responded. There was never panic. I think there was an excitement and an intensity leading up to the game. So, everything came together. But you could see the signs of it all coming together when we got back from Indy and started preparing Sunday.
And really, this is a game as well where you nearly pitch a shutout because Ashland scores with just over a minute to play when the outcome was no longer decided, and really a pretty dominant defensive display. That's the best
I've seen our defense play probably in a couple of years. And as you said, dominant. I thought at times we gave up a couple big runs, but we put great pressure on the passer. We stopped them in key third down situations. We came up big in our own end in the red zone where we have to come up big. So, I think Ashland had a couple plays that made some yards, but other than those few plays, we really did a great job of keeping them in check all day long.
And you talked about it after the game. There was really a turning point early in the game. You try a fake punt deep in your own end. It's unsuccessful, but the defense comes out, forces the 3-and-out, and then blocks the first of 2 field goals that you'd block on the night.
And you could see our defense respond. As soon as they ran back on the field after that punt, fake punt, you could see it in their eyes. They were just determined to make sure that they kept them on the end zone. And then to come up with the block kicks, I thought was impressive. We did a great job of scouting them all week long and understanding where their weaknesses were, and we attacked those weaknesses, and our big guys came up with some big blocks there.
I think Christian Babini had the first one, and then Ryan Bush had the second one. Berkshire also missed a field goal, and this is a guy who is a legitimate All-American candidate.
Well, you had to think that the weather with the wind had something to do with the one miss, and then the pressure we put on the interior line to cave in that protection and get our hands on it, I thought was big as well. He's a great kicker, but for us to be able to do that, I thought showed, what type of preparation our guys put into it, because it was all about studying the film, finding that weak man on the line that we could attack, and then going in there and executing it.
You were able to get your first score off of a muffed punt that you recover down at the 10-yard line, which I thought was another good special teams play. And then when you come out on offense, you're able to get the touchdown right away.
Well, we saw the weakness to their weak side, and we attacked that weak side with the run game and then faked the run and threw it to Zach Sesich, who was wide open. And that was really good to see that plan work because we had thought about that all week long, that if we could get the ball to the weak side of their defense in the air or in the run, we'd have success with it. And that really forced them to make some adjustments in the second half that we ended up attacking as well.
And another big play was, you go back to the interception by Grant Caserta. He looked kind of like a wide receiver there, pulling it in with one hand.
Great one-handed catch. I think Grant's 2 interceptions this year so far have shown what type of hands he has and athletic ability. And that was a big play. We did a great job putting pressure on the quarterback on that play. House Wright, as he was following through on the throw, got twisted by the pressure Nate Snyder put on it, forced an errant pass, and then Grant made the great play.
And then this is a team, Ashland, who was leading the conference in turnover margin coming into the game at plus 12, and you get them to turn it over 5 times.
You know, that's the thing about turnovers. When you turn it over a bunch, people wonder if you're even working on ball security. If you don't get any turnovers, people wonder if you're working on stripping and interception drills. Every week, I think all the teams in this league work very hard at it. We were just fortunate to be on the positive end of it, you know, and it showed that our hard work's paying off.
And so you had a 7-0 lead going into the locker room at halftime. What did you tell your guys? Because obviously they came out and were ready to play in the third quarter.
Well, we knew we had 30 minutes left. We had felt really good about the way we had played in the first half. Although the score was just 7-0, we squandered an opportunity. We missed a field goal early on. But we knew that we had played well enough to have success, that we just have to finish drives. The other thing we decided to do, JJ, that we didn't do very much in the first half was air it out a little bit. You know, we hadn't been looking for the big play. We had talked about relying more on a ball control offense, but by the second half, I thought their secondary was ripe for the opportunity to throw the ball over top, and we were able to do that.
You get one big pass play to Janice that sets you up, and then also John Jennings able to make a real nice throw where he splits 2 defenders to find Mark Thrash for the touchdown.
Both of them attacking their safety, who was really aggressive against run support, and we were able to fit those 2 balls in there. Underthrew that one to Janice a little bit. I thought that would have gone for a touchdown had he hit him in stride, but then come back on the next play with the ball to Thrash, with the safety being aggressive and running up and splitting the other backside safety in the corner. Was a great throw.
And also fitting to have your defense actually score a touchdown the way that they had performed, where you force a fumble and then Darius Middlebrooks with the scoop and score.
It was great to see Darius do it as well. You know, he had some opportunities for turnovers in earlier games and let some interceptions go through his hands, but to see him finish that one off was really neat. And to see our defense get the score, I thought, especially after last week where they had played well, but we had lost Indy because of 2 scores that Indy's defense had. It was great to see our defense contribute to the scoring.
So they did that, and all adds up to an impressive SVSU victory. And now they have a big game coming up against Wayne State on Saturday. We'll preview that one a little bit later on when we come back on SVSU Red Alert.
This week, Spring Hill Suites Male Athlete of the Week is Brandon Williams. Williams, a senior defensive end for the SVSU football team, was the major force on the line as the Cardinals' defense stifled the Ashland attack on national television, 27-6. Williams recorded 12 tackles, including 2 tackles for loss and a forced fumble in the victory for the Cardinals. Williams leads the team in tackles for loss with 10 and 6th in total tackles with 42. The victory improved Saginaw Valley to 5-2 on the season as they travel to Detroit to battle number 17 Wayne State on Saturday. Brandon Williams, your Spring Hill Suites Male Athlete of the Week.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm now joined by SVSU tight ends coach Trent Boyd. Trent, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, JJ.
And first of all, talk to me about what it's like to work with this position group where, you know, you're 1/2 offensive lineman, 1/2 receiver.
It's definitely a complicated position to coach. Tight ends needing to know both offensive line position and as well as being a wide receiver, going out, splitting out, doing the same things that wide receivers do as far as routes and also in the box, all the run game, run steps. It's a very difficult position in our offense to play.
And I would think, too, a situation where you've got guys that some weeks they know I'm primarily going to be a blocker, and other weeks I'm going to get more involved in the pass game, but I've got to be ready for either situation.
Absolutely. When we were down at Lake Erie, there were more of a run first in our game plan. We ran the ball quite a bit down at Lake Erie, and then down at up at Michigan Tech, we threw the ball quite a bit. Zach Sesich had a kind of a breakout game with 2 touchdowns receiving the ball. So game to game, week to week, it'll vary, you know, how much they're involved in the run game or the passing game.
Zach Sesich, a 3-year starter, he's been the one consistent guy for you this year because the other experienced player you had back there, Nate Hoyle, he's now back from injury, but he was gone for a few weeks.
Yeah, Nate's been a little bit banged up here and there. He had a foot injury, and now he's back. It makes things a lot easier when Nate's around with 2 tight ends. We can be more versatile and use different formations. And Nate's a real aggressive kid off the ball, coming downhill, and it's great to have him back.
And I would think an opportunity for those young kids who may not have expected to get some playing time.
Yeah, there's a few true freshmen that have got in the mix. Deion Joby from East Grand Rapids, and a new freshman who moved from quarterback, Andrew Dillon, has gotten into the mix as well. So it's good that those guys have depth when you have injuries with guys like Nate Hoyle.
And so now you've got a full complement back, and I know that you're looking forward to having them down the stretch.
Yes, we're actually lucky to be at full strength here at the end of the year. You know, by now most guys are pretty banged up, but we've been able to stay pretty healthy at this point.
Talk to people about what it takes for a tight end to be successful, first of all, as a blocker, because it's interesting, like a lot of other things we talk about being versatile, some plays you may have to block a defensive end, other times you've got to get out on the edge and block the safety.
Exactly. It's a lot like offensive line. It's all in the first step, you know, getting a good first step, taking that punch and being able to be physical, but also being able to get out, like you said, getting out on the edge, blocking DBs, linebackers. You have to be more athletic, kind of use your feet more, be more versatile. So it's difficult.
It's difficult, but that's where you come in, right? You try and teach them all about those things because, again, it is one of those things where there is a lot of technique involved.
Absolutely.
So now what do you do down the stretch to make sure that these guys are ready to play and are able to maintain their assignments?
Well, right now it's kind of going back to camp, focusing on technique. You know, obviously we get a lot of reps in, but going back and focusing on the little things and, you know, making sure our technique is still strong.
And what's it like when you have the different personnel groups in there too? Sometimes you line up single tight end, sometimes you line up double tight end. So guys have to be ready to come in at a moment's notice.
Exactly. Those different personnel groups keep defenses on their toes. Guys have to be ready at, like you said, a moment's notice, whether we go 11 personnel, 1 tight end, and 1 running back, or 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. Guys are constantly either in the game, taking those mental reps if they're not in the game. So at any moment, their number can get called.
And we saw that in the Ashland game where both Zach and Nate had a few balls thrown their way.
Yeah, absolutely. Nate had a drop in there, but he came back in the fourth quarter, had a great one-handed catch in the flat. And Zach obviously had a touchdown pass. And both guys are doing well in the run game as well as the pass game.
Well, hopefully that continues and they're able to continue to perform well for you. Trent Boyd, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And when we come back, we'll be joined by SVSU volleyball coach Will Stanton. That's next on SVSU Red Alert.
Saginaw Valley State University, where students learn in personal classroom settings and state-of-the-art labs. Where students make a difference in Michigan's Great Lakes Bay region and study the world. A place where we celebrate red pride. Saginaw Valley State University.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm now joined by SVSU women's volleyball coach Will Stanton. Will, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, JJ.
And I know you're coming off a couple of victories against the 2 UP schools, Northern Michigan and Michigan Tech.
Yeah, we're able to go 2-0 again. Did that earlier in the season on the road, and to do it at home always helps.
And so now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the conference schedule. You're in second place in the North Division, so a lot to play for.
There is. We still got some big goals in mind. We play 8 matches in about 2 weeks, so it's packed in here at the end of the season. It's going to be exciting.
And yours is a team that I know you're trying to get them to peak now as you go down the stretch, because you've played some tough competition up to this point.
We have, and we still have a couple of tough ones ahead of us. I think we are peaking. We're playing pretty well, and we're able to get some young kids some time in there as well.
And what have you been able to do to get this team to rise to the level of play that you want them to?
Well, we've been able to bring our upperclassmen along. I think they started the season a little bit further back than we expected, but they've come along nicely. Our young kids are really starting to develop and get very consistent. We've developed a lot of our bench now, so we're a little bit deeper. If we need some help, if some kids aren't getting the job done, then we've got some other options. So we've got a lot of the pieces coming together that we were hoping for at this point in the season.
And I know that there aren't many nights off in this league. The GLIAC always one of the toughest when it comes to volleyball, so you've got some tough matches remaining as well.
We do. Well, we have Grand Valley this Wednesday, so quick turnaround. We just played Sunday and we play again Wednesday. We go on the road down to Ohio again this weekend, and we still have Ferris, who's winning the league a week from this Wednesday. So a couple of real tough ones coming up.
What does your team need to do here down the stretch in order to pull out these matches? Because again, you've had some tough ones. Michigan Tech goes 3-2 and everything else, so they've had to grind some out.
We have, and really that's what we have to keep doing. We talked about that at the beginning of the weekend. We played a team that was just ahead of us on Friday, and then a team that isn't doing very well in Tech on Sunday, but they all count the same. So we talk about just doing whatever it takes. If the game is coming to us and things are flowing and the game is pretty, we'll take that. If it's not going very well and you got to just grind it out and hammer it and win ugly, then we'll take that as well at the end of the weekend. It's still 2 W's regardless of how we got there. So we're prepared to do whatever it takes, and I think we've got the right mentality that we'll work real hard if that's what we have to do, or if the game comes easy, we'll do that as well.
How would you assess your team's play to this point in the season?
Well, it's been a little more up and down than we expected. With this many upperclassmen, we really anticipated the game to come to us a little bit easier. So we discovered early on that wasn't going to be the case. We were going to have to grind some out. So we had to learn how to do that. We had to learn who could do that. Sometimes you've got players that fill different roles, and if you're going to grind a game out, you need a certain temperament, a certain personality on the floor. But if the game's coming easy and you really need it to flow, you need those sorts of players on the floor, and we have that variability, that flexibility on our team. So we've learned how to do that, and we've got to keep being prepared to do that. So if that's what we need on that night, those players have to be ready.
And I know that you're still in a position to achieve a lot of the goals that you set for this team at the start of the year.
We are. We had hoped to be in a position to have a shot at the league title. That'll be a stretch for us. We've got to put in a lot of good work in the next couple weeks, but that's still a possibility. We want to make it into the GLIAC tournament. We want to host, and we really want a shot to get back into the NCAA tournament. And that's what we're in position to do that. We just have to finish out the season. And
that means playing well against these teams, because some of them are also the same teams you're going to be battling for in those regional rankings.
Exactly. We missed a big opportunity at the crossover a weekend ago against Southern Indiana. And that put us up against the wall as far as region rankings and make it into the NCAA tournament. So we've got to really finish out this season as far as our GLIAC opponents, put ourselves in a good position, do well in the GLIAC tournament if we get that opportunity to give ourselves a shot at one of the big goals, which is to get back into that NCAA tournament.
Well, we're all pulling for you, and hopefully that you're able to put together a good 2-week stretch here. And Will Stanton, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, JJ.
And when we come back, we'll be rejoined by SVSU football coach Jim Collins. That's next on SVSU Red Alert.
This week's Spring Hill Suites Female Athlete of the Week is Sam Briault. Briault, a senior setter for the SVSU women's volleyball team, showed her poise and leadership as she set up the Cardinal attack during their victorious homestand. Briault recorded 31 assists and 6 aces in the victory over Northern Michigan on Friday. Briault was also reliable in the clutch as she set up the middle and outside hitters to the tune of 39 assists in a thrilling 5-set win over Michigan Tech on Sunday. The weekend sweep improves the Cardinals' record to 12-8 on the year and 10-3 in the GLIAC. Sam Briault, your Spring Hill Suites Female Athlete of the Week.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. After the Cardinals knocked off Ashland, they remain tied for first place in the GLIAC North, and they will be taking on the team that is in first place in the GLIAC South as they head down to Wayne State for a battle in the Motor City. I'm rejoined by SVSU head coach Jim Collins. And Coach, I guess this is what you want, end of October, big games where there's a lot on the line.
Well, we had talked earlier in the season, and especially in preseason, about being in a position to compete for a championship, and that's where we find ourselves right now. It's not over with. It won't be over with after this week, but it'll be a step in that direction. So obviously a big game. Both teams have a lot on the line. First place in the whole GLIAC will be on the line, and it's going to be a great atmosphere for a football game.
And interesting in terms of the results over the weekend, you're able to defeat Ashland, who had knocked off Wayne State the week before, and then Wayne State able to go on the road and get an overtime victory at Hillsdale, so they now are all alone in first place in the GLIAC South. So as you said, a lot on the line in this game.
And the big thing is you see the weekly results, and they seem to be similar every single week. Games decided by a field goal, games that go in overtime, multiple overtimes. There's a lot of balance in this league. It's anybody's league. It's up for grabs right now. And the team that plays the best these last 3 weeks is going to be the team with the upper hand.
Wayne State, a team that's had some success throwing the ball this year, but they're still a team that I think is run first. They want to control the ground game, and that's something that certainly was Ashland's game plan as well, but you were able to do a pretty good job overall containing the run game.
Exactly. What we have to do, JJ, is do a great job of stopping the run, getting Wayne State in the second and long and third and longs, and then being able to play great pass defense and rush the passer. That's the formula. I think the thing that Wayne does, probably that's a little bit better than Ashland, is I think they throw the ball down the field, more of a vertical attack in their play action passing game. So we've got to make sure that we're very sound and disciplined in the secondary as we're stopping the run, still being in position to prevent the big play in the passing game.
But your run offense was very successful against Ashland as well. You had some big runs from both Ronnie Lark and Tim Hogue.
The Ashland defensive line was probably the best we've seen all year, and what we knew we had to do was be patient. And that's what we were. We were persistent and patient in the run game, and that's got to be our formula. We had a couple of those long runs. We had a couple of plays where we got stuffed, but we didn't get away from the run game. We stuck with it, and ultimately I thought that was the key to the victory. The other thing the run game did for us was help control the football. We won the time of possession. That's got to go into the formula again this week against Wayne State.
And it is interesting because you've already won football games in a variety of ways, because this one your defense really takes care of it. Up at Michigan Tech, your offense just has to outscore them. So if nothing else, this is a team that I would think has to know, as long as we're in this game, we can find a way to win, because you've had to do it in different ways.
Exactly. We've got confidence in that area, but I think the other thing is we're a tough team to prepare for. You've seen us be explosive in the passing game. You've seen us really gear on the run, and then the other ways that we've won it. So for our opponents, they've got a lot to prepare for, and that's a good thing, being balanced and making sure that you're not predictable.
You had the short week to prepare for Ashland. You have the long week to prepare for Wayne State, who you know is going to be a very physical opponent. Does it help to have that little extra recovery time? Really,
it does, for two reasons. Number one, it brings you off of the cloud nine that you're on after the big Ashland game, because I thought having those couple days to come back down to earth was key to get our guys focused on the next one. And then the physical rest that you get with having the extra couple days helps as well, especially late in the year when everyone's beat up and tired. To have those couple days is a key.
So now you get ready for Wayne State, and as you said, this is where you want to be at this time of year, to have these kind of football games, and I know your guys are eager to have this opportunity.
These are the games people come to Saginaw Valley for, and I think the excitement building into this one's awesome, and great week of preparation. Got to go out and play our best.
Well, Coach Collins, good luck as you make the trip down to Detroit against Wayne State.
Thanks, JJ.
And we thank you for watching, and we hope you have enjoyed this edition of SVSU Red Alert.